What up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Jays and Grays. I'm Dave Hellum. I got my man Eli Hamilton in the building. And welcome to episode 5 of this wonderful show / podcast, Take Your Ass to the Doctor. And we got a special guest. Nobody else could do this but my best friend since I was 8 years old, man, in South Holland, playing Sega Genesis in the basement, fighting each other and fighting bullies and drawing Ninja Turtles. And like my man since 1989, Dr. Edwin K. McDonald the Fourth. What up, Ed?
What up, Dave?
Oh, we gotta give him a proper introduction.
Yeah,
all
man.
right. Thanks, brothers. I appreciate that, man. What's going on? Good to see you, man.
Dave stunned on here that he got doctors as friends. Oh shit, that's a nice network to have, man.
If you don't know who Ed is a gastroenterologist at the University of Chicago. Not UIC, motherfucker. University of Chicago in Hyde Park.
Not Chicago State.
No. No, you broke bitches. No.
No shade.
The University of Chicago.
The opinions of me and Eli are not necessarily reflected by Edwin K. McDonald.
Yeah, because like my UIC colleagues gonna come for me, man.
They gonna be, oh, here come the kids. Hey.
Wait, who's in the background? Oh man, the dog then opened up the door.
Oh gosh.
Hey. We are
Oh
live.
my gosh, this is the best way to start this podcast.
Right.
Man.
Hey, look, say what up to Mr. Dave. You ain't seen Mr. Dave in a minute. Okay, you just
Hey, Cadence.
Can you grab the dog? Can you close the door too? And get the dog? You just brought the dog in the room. Just gonna leave the dog?
From Chicago.
Okay,
Thank
sorry about that. Yeah.
All
So
right,
man, so you in the University? You know what? This what I got a question about.
Yeah.
So you at the University of Chicago?
Yep.
Which resides right on 57th and Cottage Grove.
Yep.
If you're not familiar with Chicago, 57th and Cottage Grove, it's a blended area. Let's say it like that, right? If I know that there's a great hospital there, you know, can anybody come to University of Chicago, or do you like, you don't qualify, take your ass over to St. Bernard Hospital? How do people feel about that? Because I would be a little pissed, like, St. Bernard, no, anywhere but St. Bernard.
So for the ER, anybody can come into the ER. And then unfortunately, there's certain insurance that the hospital take and they don't take, or there's certain actually insurance companies that don't cover the hospital. And like some of the Medicaid programs, some of the Obamacare programs actually don't cover the hospital. And the university had to fight for them to actually cover the university. So it's complicated. It's frustrating. I mean, for me, like, I don't really care. I get salary. So I just want to see whoever shows up in the clinic. And then there's been some times where, you know, people come through and they just like, man, I don't really have no money, especially now with like, we're doing a lot of telemedicine. So there's certain situations where, you know, people see me and they're still waiting for insurance. We just figure out the cheapest way, the easiest way to bill it so they won't get hit with a crazy bill. Because like what I don't want to see folks going bankrupt just because they try to see me as a doctor. Like that would hurt my feelings. You know what I'm saying? And I wish I had
Would
more.
it really?
No, I mean, it would. Like, I don't want to, like, I don't want to see people going broke and becoming
for the
poor.
people.
Yeah, because they're trying to get help. Like, that's not what I'm about, you know. But the problem is I don't own the university. Like, I don't, you know, own the clinics. I don't own the equipment and whatnot. So I'm gonna play like everybody else.
You've never had a situation where somebody, y'all said, no, I'm sorry, you got to go to St. Bernard or you got to go to Jackson Park Hospital. And they was like, damn.
No, so not in my clinic. I mean, what happens is I'll get these emails like, yo, this person's out of network. And, you know, can you recommend that they go somewhere else? And our university is just like, yo, they came to see me. I need to be the one doing the procedure, period. And the hospital need to eat the costs. And
you like the Black Panther of doctors, yeah?
Yeah, for the people. That's important.
It is important. And then when we get into like trust and mistrust and why we need more diversity within medicine, like this is type of stuff that we need. And you need somebody to hold folks accountable. So that's kind of what I do, man. I try to not only be accountable to the patients, but also I got to hold the hospital accountable to the community.
Let's also give you your flowers, though, Ed. In addition to being a very, very, very dope gastroenterologist at the university, you do a lot of other stuff, man. You are a trained chef / nutritionist, right? I've known you as like somebody who makes like in his spare time. You know, I would come and stay with you and your family in Chicago for years after I moved back to LA, and y'all always welcome me back. And I would be in that little room up there, and I would hear you on the MPC making beats at like 2 a.m, like, blowing off steam. Ed got some fire ass tracks. I don't know another doctor who is a chef, a doctor, and a DJ and a producer. I don't. So I'm like my best friend is dope. I'm just saying that. That's it.
Yeah, either I'm dope or I just got ADHD or something.
It's probably a little bit of both, Ed. It's probably, and you are also the director of diversity and inclusion for medical education at the University of Chicago as well, which is a very dope thing, man. You trying to get the Black and brown people up in there.
You know, we need
the Joe Biden of doctors.
We need a lot of
that's debatable. Come on. Let's not intertwine the politics. We had that shit the first episode, Dave. Come on now.
As long as I'm not the Trump of doctors, I'll take anybody except for Trump.
You gonna got Joe Biden of doctors. Get your ass out of here.
But welcome to an episode, like I said, that I felt like we had to have you on. Take your Black ass to the doctor. And before we actually get into that topic about stuff, man, we're gonna talk about some topical things. Eli, I go back and forth because I know you with Eli Hamilton, somebody who I will never acknowledge, you know what I'm saying? But kick us off, man, in terms of like some things that have been going on this week.
Well, so a lot of talk that's been going on is the vaccines are now here in Chicago, right? And you do have some skeptics. You got some people who saying they're not going to take it.
Some people.
I'm one of them. You goddamn right. I ain't taking that shit. I say that shit with my fucking chest. Yeah, I'm not taking it.
Oh, Hotep Hamilton.
Yes.
Oh, where is your Kunte cloth?
I need one. Can we get a J's and Grays Kunte like Kufi?
Sorry,
just give me a Kufi.
I said Kunte. I don't know what the Kunte cloth is.
Right, racist ass.
Look, what I love about being a young Black male doctor on the South Side, like I have like a concierge practice for Hoteps, and they all come to see me. So like half the time, like my nurses they don't know what's going on. They like, why is this cat in here? And we just debating politics, the vaccine, slavery. Like you come to my clinic, we talk. It's like the barbershop, but I'm also a doctor.
Yeah, I like doctors like that. I don't like going to the doctor's office where they don't try to get to know me or nothing. They just like, all right, get undressed. I'm like, damn, I'm at the doctor, not at a prostitute appointment, sir. How you doing? Yeah, excuse me.
What is a prostitute?
I don't know anything about a prostitute. I don't know. I just thought that.
What is that? That's not something you just drop casually. That's something like
I seen Pretty Woman.
You like that'll be 40 roses.
What are you talking about with that? Is that a okay? Look,
you know what the fuck I'm talking about,
right? Yeah, you get in trouble.
So one, I don't think you should be showing up at the doctor's office taking your clothes off. Like I had one situation back when I was working up at Rush. I took care of a couple people that were strippers. They were like straight up and down real deal strippers.
Oh my goodness! Please tell us about that.
Yeah, and I
in front of his daughter.
Yeah, it's very uncomfortable.
She don't understand what a stripper is yet, do she?
I hope not.
Hey, Cadence. Bye.
Well, now's your chance to learn.
Oh my God! Shut your ass up.
Yeah,
you gotta paint that picture bad. You do not want her to grow up What was that Chris Rice said? Don't go to the
Cannot have no shoes with the clear heels.
No, not in the house. Yeah. So
and no star tattoos.
Right. So I had a couple patients that were strippers, and they all had like belly pain and like constipation and whatnot. And I helped one out. Next thing you know, it was a whole bunch of strippers coming to my clinic. Like I got referred, literally a whole bunch of strippers. And I showed up the clinic one time. I can't even make the story up, man. I walk in the room. It was a woman. She was like naked with like trench coat, and I just had to walk out and grab like 5 nurses and like had them go in there and be like, yo, you need to put your clothes on. Like, what are you doing?
So what was the diagnosis with the stomach pain?
Oh, just irritable bowel syndrome and nothing too crazy.
Oh my Lord, how you gonna be a stripper with IBS?
Hey, look, IBS.
You giving a lap dance and then all of a sudden you shit on my thigh? I'm gonna be mad as fuck.
Hey, look, man.
Get your dirty ass off me with your IBS having that. Oh man, why you coming to work today? You gotta quit.
Ed, you gotta close the door. You gotta send Caitlin downstairs. Like
I do, yes. Baby, can you go downstairs and well, I'm on a show right now.
Hey, what's your strip? My name is Sheila, aka Shitty Sheila. Oh my gosh, why they call you that? No.
All right.
You sliding down the pole, it's all type of skid marks on the pole. Man, I'm be mad.
Why?
Because she said she got IBS.
I'm saying
IBS. That is not the job for you. Were you naked with IBS? Hell no. You should be working like in sanitation or some shit for the city of Chicago where you gotta wear like a coverall suit to work.
Well, there's multiple types of IBS. Overall. So not all types have diarrhea. A lot of people have constipation. And I could imagine if you working at the strip club, you probably not trying to go to the bathroom a whole lot. So a lot of folks are probably holding it in the whole shift to be at the strip club. Then you look up, folks got issues with constipation and pelvic floor dysfunction and stuff like that. And then plus there's a stress component to irritable bowel syndrome, the IBS. So you got some of the strip club for a stripper may be a stressful environment. Like, I don't know.
Stressed about what? What could they be stressed about?
They got pimps.
No,
right.
Those are strippers, not whores.
Oh, my bad. I mean, hey.
Why you acting like you don't know what's up, man? You ain't always been in a relationship.
Man, I am insane. There is a halo above this pink hat that's like, right now.
No, we keep it real on Jays and Grays. I'm gonna need you to keep it 100.
I'm saying, okay? Dave does not have his picture on the wall at Magic City.
Oh, those are the Morehouse days, huh, Dave?
Hey, baby. I mean, look, I want to send a shout out to the Skybox out on Halsted, out in the South Suburbs, because they have free pizza buffets at that strip club, and I feel like it is very nice for you to get free pizza when you're spending all your money. I
want to give a shout out to anybody in here who's watching that's from the St. Louis area. The Pink Slip and Bottoms Up had the best wings. That motherfucker was fat. Yes. We got shitty strip clubs here in Chicago. But they, I would say they clean. You want to go to a safe environment. They got the Pink Monkey in this downtown.
It don't even sound nice. Right. The Pink Monkey.
Yeah. It smell like onions.
Smell like what it sounds like. The Pink Monkey.
I went in that motherfucker. Yeah. Like, it's stinking here. Like, I'm not coming in. It's supposed to be downtown too, y'all. Oh, hell no. No.
The Pink Monkey sounds like an STD. Like,
I got that Pink Monkey, dog.
Pink Monkey. Yeah. It's right on Clinton. I think this, due to COVID, it's not there. But yeah. I wonder if strippers taking the vaccine so they can hurry up and get back to work too. What you think?
Well,
I think they would need it. But
before we get into that vaccine conversation, I want to ask y'all a question about Chicago, because I'm in LA. And I know it's bad in LA, but the talk of the country is about Chicago and the COVID situation. How bad
are we the talk of the country?
Yeah.
Damn.
But it's still open. So, it's not fully open, but it's not on lockdown like we are. So, can y'all enlighten me about what the fuck is going on in my hometown?
Yeah, COVID is bad everywhere. So it ain't just Chicago. Like, I feel like singling out our city is probably not fair. And ultimately, at the hospital where I work, our COVID numbers still aren't as bad as what they were in like April and March and May, and when things first started getting jumped off, because like around that time, we had the COVID ICU, and they even tapped different doctors to work in like different areas. So I was working in the ER briefly. Like I'm not an ER doc, but in order to make sure we had enough doctors to take care of the demands, people had to roll their sleeves up and do some stuff that they weren't necessarily used to doing. I mean, I felt comfortable being an ER because I have ER training, but at the end of the day, I'm a gastroenterologist. That's what I do.
So do you got that you got that face shield with the strap on in the back, looking like you're a catcher for the White Sox that you got to wear when you go to work?
Yeah, just close the door.
Right. They're like, we want to be on TV.
All right, my bad. And what it's past bedtime. Like I don't know what to say.
They're living their best life right now. Yeah.
Oh man, they really are.
That's the best birth control.
Right.
Like watching this.
Hell yeah.
I don't even know who my wife is right now. Yeah. So back to COVID. In Chicago, it's I feel like it's no worse than anywhere else. And Mayor Lightfoot, she's doing her best to try to keep everything in check. You still got some folks who don't want to wear masks. You still got some folks who don't want to take it seriously.
You know what? I'm gonna tell you why. I'm going to tell you why people, say Chicago got the worst numbers. It's a whole bunch of cities in this country. I blame WGN because WGN is like so we got our station is that you can watch it in multiple cities and they just tell all our business. That's why you got so many people that claim to know about Chicago watching WGN, talking too damn much about what the fuck is going on in our city. Like, oh yeah, I heard Chicago. Where you get that from? WGN. Mind your business. Yeah. Can we get Utah station everywhere? How about that? Can we get LA station everywhere? Can we get Vermont? What's going on in Vermont? Goddammit. What about Jacksonville, Florida? Huh? What's going on in y'all city? Quit fucking judging us. Talking about heard somebody got shot on Halstead. It's called Halstead, motherfucker, and you don't know nothing. People get shot there all the time and everywhere else. Mind your business. We got COVID. Y'all got COVID. Everybody got COVID.
But I'm sick of it. Like we've been in the same situation for going on 10 months now. You know what I'm saying? And now that there is an opportunity to have an out. So I think I could be wrong with this vaccine. You know what I'm saying? But me personally, I'm tired of it. It's affecting folks close to me. I see what it does. But at first, I didn't believe that COVID was like a thing. I was like, oh, this is just like the government doing all this shit to play with us. But then I actually saw it, how it affects people like in front of me. And I was just like, this is bad. It's like a super flu. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that the same way we can vaccinate ourselves for the flu, why can't we do that? Or why shouldn't we do that for something that is also a virus? It just seemed like it makes sense to me.
So you ready to take that vaccine too, huh, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, at first I had pushback, but now it's like it's real in the field.
Yeah. So what's the argument for not doing a vaccine? And I just want to hear and better understand.
Because you're gonna turn into one of them people off The Walking Dead if you take the vaccine. And I don't want to turn into them. I'm good. Keep your vaccine. I'm not trying to turn into no werewolf either. Fuck you, government. Keep your vaccine. I'm fine. I never took the flu shot and going into school. None of that. I ain't never took shots to go to school, and I'm okay. I don't even hardly get sick that much.
You never took like the measles, mumps, rubella?
None of that. None of it. Never took it. But then again, it's my spiritual belief. So
I respect that.
What?
But
goddamn right. Hotep Hamilton is healthy. Say that. Triple H. Hotep healthy Hamilton. Don't forget to put the healthy in there when you say Hotep.
It's your spiritual belief. Y'all don't believe in doctors?
We don't believe in putting vaccinations. You know, how you gonna fucking get me sick so I won't get sick? Guess what? I'm not sick still. Never had the measles, never had the mumps, had the chicken pox like everybody else.
Right. And we didn't have the vaccine for the chicken pox when we was younger. But
when you get older, it turns into shingles, right?
Your parents just be like, go play with them kids over there. They sick.
And some people it can turn into shingles, but you know, it's tough. So I hear where you're coming from in terms of like, I don't get sick. I didn't get the measles, mumps, rubella, and whatnot. But the problem with that philosophy is like a lot of people aren't getting sick because so many people got those vaccines. So you're not going to come across measles because most people are vaccinated against measles. So, you know, for folks who haven't got sick from some of these conditions where, you know, even with chickenpox, like kids don't get chickenpox anymore because like there's so many kids who got the vaccine. So that's herd immunity. And in order to get that type of herd immunity where, you know, people aren't getting coronavirus, like a lot of folks got to get vaccinated. And that's just is what it is.
It's working out for Atlanta.
What do you mean?
Because they out there kicking it every day, Monday through Sunday in the club. And their numbers should be crazy. Not
I think they stopped reporting. I really think Georgia and Florida just are giving you like percentages of what the cases are because we ain't heard shit about Florida. And Florida is the only state where you can go to a movie theater and watch Tenet. They were like in theaters now. That means Florida.
Well, I mean, Dave, both of you guys.
That was bad in Florida too. Like,
well, I got quite a few friends that live in Atlanta, and they're not talking about COVID, and I talk to them pretty often. They're not saying, man, it's bad out here. And I would, and if they did, I'd be like, yo, that's because y'all are open, but they're not saying nothing about it.
So Eli, real quick, I'm looking at both numbers, Atlanta, Chicago. Atlanta, first of all, has much less people than Chicago does. Exact same COVID numbers. So it's worse in Atlanta than it is in Chicago.
Word.
You don't feel that way.
Hotel Hamilton. He has a Bible, but you can't vaccinate him.
Get that Satan juice away from me.
That Satan juice.
So I'm not fucking with it.
Look. I mean, I hear what you're talking about, but like real talk. I looked at the study, so the clinical trial. Like all the data is available. You know what I mean? There's nobody in the study that turned into a werewolf, and there was nobody.
What about that Bell's palsy thing?
So in the Pfizer study, the most common adverse reactions would be the same stuff that you see from a flu vaccine. So sometimes people got headaches, sometimes people had, you know, like cold-like symptoms, but they all went away. And it's really just your body's immune system kind of reacting to the protein that the mRNA is making. And that's like the whole point of it. So
what is that?
So this vaccine is different than previous vaccines. Okay. Previous vaccines, they actually give you the virus. Okay. So they'll give you either a weakened version of the virus or a dead form of the virus, but you get the virus. This vaccine is different because they don't give you the whole virus. They give you basically the mRNA, which is what the cells use to create proteins. Okay. So they take some mRNA from the actual virus and you make your body, your own cells makes the protein that your immune system can recognize. So now your immune system is already ramped up to recognize this virus. So if you get exposed to it, your white blood cells and your antibodies and all that stuff, your immune system can identify the virus and kill it before it does any damage. Now, that's one of the reasons why it's so deadly, because it's a brand new virus. Our immune systems have never seen this before. So for a lot of people, when you get exposed to it, the immune system really doesn't even know what to do. So either your immune system overreacts and you get sick and you pass away or get super duper sick, or you underreact and the virus causes a whole bunch of damage and tears up your lungs and everything. But with the vaccine, now, once you've been exposed to it, your immune system is going to be able to recognize that you do have the virus and also be able to attack it a lot quicker than without the vaccine.
Yeah, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
You said your immune system either overreacts or underreacts. So let's say you're asymptomatic. So is that what happens with a lot of people who don't experience like the symptoms of being sick? They just get messed up in other ways?
Well, it's still early, so we don't know even if those asymptomatic people are going to have some long-term consequences. But we do know the folks who tend to get super duper sick, a lot of that is from overabundant immune response. Okay, so your immune system is basically like, yo, something ain't right. I don't know what's going on. I can't really pinpoint it, but we just gonna, throw shotguns and bombs and everything at it, and then in that process, you end up damaging your own body. So they, what the experts are calling it a cytokine storm, basically. So your immune system basically goes crazy. Like, look, I don't know what's going on. Let's throw the kitchen sink at it. But in that process, throwing the kitchen sink at it, you have this immune response where, again, you could damage your own lungs. You can, and that's what we call this condition, ARDS, which a lot of people, you end up on the ventilators. A lot of it has to do with your own immune system's response. So right now, the whole point of the vaccine is to basically train your body to have the appropriate response to this virus.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is.
Well, I'll tell you this. After that explanation, I'm still not gonna take that motherfucker. Right.
Right. What? But like, I
the only way I'm gonna take the virus, the vaccine. The only way I'm taking the vaccine. This is the only way I'm gonna take the vaccine. If that shit can make me like an X-Man, I'll fuck with it. If I can
shut your dumb ass out.
If I can turn in like Wolverine, he still look like a human. He a little hairy with that little hair horn and shit. I'll do that. I just lock it up like with the rest of my hair. But if I can just come out with some claws in that ass and I can't get sick and hurt, I'll fuck with it. But other than that, I'm not fucking with it.
I pray that you never get COVID. I pray that nothing ever bad happens to you. Because I'm petty. And I'm coming to the hospital room and be like, I told your dumb ass to take that vaccine.
No.
So Eli, the good news for you. So, for me, I got to get my vaccine like tomorrow, like literally tomorrow.
Is it mandatory?
I mean, it's not yet mandatory, but like we've seen so many people pass away from this stuff. Like you look at the data looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and get it. But it's almost, basically. So like I've seen firsthand what this virus does. I mean, like I've been in the ICU doing procedures, look people dead in their eyes, literally before they pass away. It's like, this is real stuff. It's not like just make up stuff. And, those numbers that you see going up when you look up COVID and whatnot to see how many people got it and how many people passed away, those are real people. It ain't just numbers on Google. Those are real people. So, for us, me being a physician, like I've seen colleagues get sick. I've seen patients get sick. If I had to pick between, taking my chances with COVID or taking my chances with a vaccine, the decision is easy. Okay. So like when I look at what's going on with COVID and the likelihood, especially as a Black person, we have 3 times higher likelihood of getting it and not doing well with it. And that's what just the numbers show, period. And when you look at the vaccine data, like nobody died from the vaccine. Like there's no deaths reported from the vaccine itself, but we got thousands, hundreds of thousands of deaths associated with the virus. And when it comes to like getting sick, yes, there are some people who had like flu-like symptoms from the vaccine, but those symptoms ain't worse than the actual virus itself.
But I think this all comes down to one word, and that's been like targeting the Black community for a very long time with doctors and medical profession, and that is trust.
Yeah. And it's very deep. I actually had to go on NPR earlier today and talk about this. And so a lot of times
I see you. All right. NPR, a little humble flex. I was on NPR today. Okay, all right.
He did say that shit real low key, like I was on NPR earlier today.
Cheerio.
Nothing big.
But look. So I was talking about the vaccine, and everyone's like, we need to talk about Black people and like their trust and mistrust, and Black people not wanting to get vaccinated. But not wanting to get vaccinated is not something that Black people own. You know what I mean? Like in terms of the anti-vaxxer movement, that's predominantly educated white upper class movement. And a lot of the kids, especially in California, if you look up the percentage of kids in California that haven't got vaccines, it's majority of white people, and they ain't Black folk. Now, the mistrust that we have With black people, that's really, mistrust of a lot of institutions in America for obvious reasons. Like folks have experienced racism and their families have experienced racism, and folks are aware of the historical legacy. And we talk about institutional racism for a reason, because it is a concept that permeates institutions, and medicine is just one of those institutions. So we have to figure out how to navigate this situation. And one of the things that frustrates me, well, it doesn't really frustrate me. It's something I think we need to talk about. So everybody talks about the Tuskegee experiment, and everybody does. But the
That's
problem,
all we know.
yeah, well, but even still, a lot of people don't even know the Tuskegee experiment. Like, people bring it up, and people just say, "Oh, there was Tuskegee, there was Tuskegee." So my family's from Tuskegee.
Well, first of all, what was the Tuskegee Experiment?
So the Tuskegee Experiment, it happened in the 1930s, and it actually ended in 1972. And it was sponsored. So one, we shouldn't even call it the Tuskegee Experiment, because it was really sponsored by the government. So folks forget. They make it seem like it's just some random, people in Tuskegee doing this. This was sponsored by the United States government. And what happened was, researchers, they wanted to see the natural history of syphilis. Okay. So they wanted to see what happens when syphilis just didn't get treated. And they wanted to see all the crazy stuff that syphilis could do to the body. And syphilis messed people up. I mean, you get dementia, you get a whole bunch of go blind. I mean, syphilis is not a game.
Didn't Al Capone die from untreated STD?
I don't know. I gotta look that up, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Little known fact. I would have never known that, man.
Right.
But
what happened was they just so eventually we came on antibiotics. Okay. So antibiotics came out that actually could treat syphilis, and they didn't give the participants in the research study those antibiotics, even though they knew that syphilis could kill people, mess people up. But they're like, you know what? We're just gonna let this ride out, even though we got the treatment. And they kept it going up until the 70s. I mean, 1972.
That's 42 years.
Yeah. So they kept it going. And then eventually, I think some reporters found out about it, and the study got shut down. And that's one of the reasons. And it changed the game, because it was all unethical research. So after that happened, there's all these, congressional hearings and whatnot. And every single hospital has to set up institutional review boards to actually review all the different studies you want and make sure that they're ethical, and to make sure you're not doing any shady stuff. So, I mean, one of the best things that I should say, the only thing that came out of that study that was good is that the hospital set up mechanisms to prevent shady stuff like that from happening again. Now, that whole experience with Tuskegee was terrible. I mean, they just basically just let people die, just to see, just out of curiosity. So this is definitely one of the dark areas when it comes to medicine, and there's more dark areas. So if you ever read the book Medical Apartheid by Harriet Washington, it is a sad book. And I met Harriet Washington when she was a lecturer here at DePaul in Chicago, and she actually came to my institution. I brought her to my institution to talk to my classmates, so she can make them woke about what was going on in the past. But with Tuskegee and what's going on today, if they redid the Tuskegee study with the coronavirus vaccine, it would basically be like, you know what, we're not going to give black people the vaccine. We really just want to see what happens when a whole bunch of black people get this virus.
Oh, so you just going to do what EDOT is doing anyway, and just exist.
Yeah, you goddamn right.
So
I don't give a fuck if they attach another stimulus check to that bitch. I'm still not taking it. You kiss my ass. I don't need it. Bye.
Hey, James, do me a favor. There's some good questions that have been going on in the comments section.
Yeah.
And, I know we're going to come back and answer these questions,
for sure,
but just take notes of the ones. I've seen a couple, so that so if you are asking questions, know that we will answer them at the end, because I saw some good stuff in there. But we got to kind of transition to the next point of the show, the next part of the show, and I think this is a very good segue.
Yeah,
talking about the Tuskegee Experiment and why people of color do not trust the government. We don't trust doctors. We don't even trust some folks don't even trust black doctors because they're black. They want a white doctor, right? So this is the topic of the show, episode 5. Take your black ass to the doctor. And we're going to kind of break down the stigmas about why people of color, especially Black folk, and in particular, Black men, find it so hard to trust health officials and go in for, just regular checkups.
And it's bigger. It's bigger than COVID. You know what I'm saying? It's bigger than Corona. So we actually, leading up to the podcast tonight, we have posted some posts around like, certain Black people, men or whatnot, that, had suffered some conditions, and it could have resulted from not taking care of themselves, So we can identify with some of our favorite, celebrities, that passed away early, from different conditions. We talked about, and y'all can help me out here. One of my favorite comedian of all time, Patrice O'Neal, passed away early, 42 years old, diabetes.
He joked a lot about having diabetes, and he fell into a diabetic coma.
Patrice O'Neal.
Yeah, and he just never came out.
Look.
I think Bill Marquis.
And yeah.
Let's run it down the list. We got Robin Harris. You say he passed away at 36, from a heart attack, and who else we got?
John Singleton passed away earlier.
51.
Was that last year or this year? But I know he died at 51, and basically like he died of like a heart attack from like hypertension, which is like basically like high blood pressure.
Yeah.
Here, you know what? And we as much as we joke around a lot, and Dave and I can attest to this, right? As comedians, we live very unhealthy lifestyles. It's a very fast-paced life. It's a nightlife, right? We in and out of clubs or whatnot all the time, all hours of the night. We eating BS at the end of the night. We drinking. I think what really caused me to start taking my health serious, my dad had his first heart attack. Now men in my family are prone to heart disease, right? So, my grandfather, who I never met because he passed away before I was born, he died of heart disease. My dad, after a while, he died from heart disease. But I looked at my father's health deteriorate from 2004 until he passed away in 2011 from a stroke or whatnot. And so that always scared me because he was a smoker or whatnot. So when I turned 32, I went and got an EKG, right? Because I was like, man, am I gonna get a heart attack or whatever? And then I went and got a calcium score 2 years ago just to see, like, I don't want to get a heart attack. That's something that does scare me. So I also took my health more serious, started working out, going to the gym, things that. You know what I'm saying? Watching what I eat. This is coconut water, not Tito's. I'm lying, it's Tito's. But I still got some demons that I'm trying to fight, but I'm not perfect. But I am cognizant of my health, right? The thing is, why I guess the whole reason we're doing this podcast is what is it about us? What is it about melanated people, Black people, why we do not take our health serious? Like, it's just not, why is it not like ring a bell? You know what I'm saying? We have hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol. What do we need to do better? Is this a discussion that needs to continuously happen? Talk to us. I mean, because University of Chicago is like, it's still on the south side of Chicago. So what is some of your thoughts?
I know you got stories, Ed. I know you got and you can't really get into it. Like I know like verbatim about stuff, but you can paraphrase like people's. What's some of the wildest shit people have said to you about why they don't fuck with doctors?
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of times I'll start my clinic, and especially for somebody I never met before, they'll come into the clinic like, yo, I hate hospitals. I don't like doctors. And that's like the first thing they say. You know what I mean? That's like, imagine if I took my car to like mechanics, and to get the car fixed. I'm just like, fuck mechanics. Like,
as soon as you pull into the get your oil change, I hate you, nigga.
Right. And like, y'all are shady. You just want to steal my money. But the thing is, for me as a Black doctor, like I was a Black person first, and that's reality. So when someone comes to me and say they don't trust doctors, they had bad experience with doctors, or they have stories, like I have similar family stories, so I could sit there and patiently listen to folk and really respect everything they have to say, and also figure out ways to, make that connection to eventually get to the point where, people can trust what I have to say. That's the art of medicine. And that's the challenge. And that's why I love it. And, for me, I have to figure out how to get, respect and trust from hoteps, but also respect and trust from, someone who's, rich and white who may live in, on the North Shore. And I have to figure out how to equally get both parties to trust and respect everything I have to say.
Well, here's one thing. Put a Baba's in Lincoln Park and then talk to me. Why we got all the Baba's? You see any heralds? The heralds can go past Wabash.
Is the heralds in Hyde Park?
No. I'm talking about the north side, right? Put some unhealthy, delicious restaurants on the north side. Then talk
the heralds on Milwaukee. I mean, I hear what you're saying.
But so Eli is bringing up a good point. Okay, so now we're talking about public health. Okay, so within Black communities, you have more fast food restaurants in Black communities than white communities by a lot, and also less supermarkets. And that's like facts. You could look up the research. So I have a weight management clinic. And so, a lot of people live in neighborhoods where they got to pass their favorite restaurants, a couple times before they can get to a healthy grocery store. And then we also have more advertising for like fast foods and cigarettes and whatnot in the Black community. Like, I mean, you drive up and down Stony Island, especially back in the day, you couldn't drive down Stony Island without seeing like 5 different cigarette ads.
or dudes screaming loose squares. Let's talk about that too. I mean, selling loose cigarettes.
It happens. It happens. So
I got a question, Dr. McDonald.
What's up?
Why do the bananas get bad 2 weeks earlier from the Marianos on 39th than the one on Clark and Division? Let's talk about the produce, right? Why do my strawberries get bad? Look, I got 4 strawberries. I got a whole thing of strawberries. 4 of them motherfuckers already riding. By the time I get to the crib,
yeah,
I just spent $4 on these organic strawberries. I'm probably still gonna eat them. I'm probably still gonna blend them because I paid $4 for them. But if I go all the way to Lincolnshire, all them bitches gonna be good for at least 3 weeks.
IBS. Let's talk about it. Getting on yourself.
I mean, it's tough. What the supermarkets will tell you is that it's due to demand. Okay, so in those neighborhoods, there might be more demand, so they're bringing in more fruits and vegetables because they're selling more. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've had that same question. So again, like I said before, I was a doctor, I was a Black person, and the same questions you asking are questions that I also have to this day.
Inquiring minds would like to know.
Right. So when I posed that question to, supermarket execs and like, people in those positions, that is the response I was given. It has everything to do with demand. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. But that is what they say. But back to your point, when it comes to trust and mistrust, my issue is we trust a whole bunch of unhealthy stuff. Okay.
Like what? Or like who?
Like the food that we eat.
Please talk about it.
Like the stuff. Hold on, Eli. Like you mean like the stuff that we lift up, like tradition wise.
I mean, like case in point, we just had a conversation about Black people dying from heart disease, heart attacks, high blood pressure, and all this other stuff, and not trusting the vaccine and everything. Which I get it. The vaccine is new. I can understand how people have hesitation to take the vaccine, and people want to wait. I understand. But let's talk about the stuff that we do trust that we know is killing us. Okay, like we trust pop. You know what I mean? Like pop ain't even real food. When you look in the back of the ingredients, you have to have a PhD.
Who trusts in pop?
A lot of people with diabetes.
Great.
That's still look, man. Look, let me tell you something. Come on, man. It don't take no rocket science to know that shit is unhealthy. Come on now.
But
because it's diet Coke that make it better.
Look, people are still drinking it.
God damn! It's
like
2020.
People are still putting that in their body. People are still putting a whole bunch of unhealthy food in their bodies that we know can lead to heart disease and diabetes and whatnot, and that's happening all the time. So I see a lot of folks coming through.
You've been trained though, Ed. Like,
well, and that's why I want people to untrain.
You ever handed a Black person a can of LaCroix and didn't get the slap Like the shit slapped out of you after you handed them that can. You like, drink this 0-calorie, non-sugar carbonated water with essence. And then they take a sip of it and they be like, nigga.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I'll be pissed off too. Don't ever give me this bullshit again.
Right. And honestly, that's not just black people. That's everybody. That is the standard American diet. The standard American diet is full of like processed garbage.
That's like somebody saying, look, if I go to Harold's and I take the skin off the chicken and it's white meat, which is considered healthy, and French fries is actually a vegetable because it's made from potatoes, does that make it healthy?
Right.
That makes it healthy, right?
And the mild sauce got tomatoes in it.
And the mild sauce got tomatoes in it. We make up every excuse. we make up all this piece of bullshit. I'm sorry. That's
look, man. These are stories I heard. Like, matter of fact, when I write a book, like one of the chapters is gonna be called "And the mild sauce got tomatoes in it." Like,
and the mild sauce got tomatoes in it, baby. God damn it! I hate the way Subway keep talking about. Yeah, our food is healthy. No, it's not. Have you went to? Hey, Doctor Ed, look, you got
Dr.
the Subway.
What you call him?
I said Dr. Ed, but my Tito's kicking in. Look, Dr. McDonald, you got the Subway right down the street from the hospital.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've went into that Subway before. We talking about the one on 51st and Cottage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The attitudes in there,
sharks.
They don't give a fuck about my health. They don't give a fuck about my order. Do you think they care about, that's like me going in like, hey, what is the sodium content? Like, bitch, you want this shit or not?
Yeah,
I think that's another fact with restaurants, in like predominantly black neighborhoods. The customer service is so bad. They not really telling nobody like what's good. I mean, they got all these menus posing like this stuff is healthy, but we don't know no better. We just hungry, and the shit only costs $7, and I get 7 pounds of food.
Of chicken.
Sounds like a deal to me. I'm eating it.
I mean, so the problem with fast food, it seems cheap. It really does. But what you don't see, you don't see the future cost down the line. Okay. So like if you got to pay the price with high blood pressure and heart attacks, like that fast food is actually really expensive, because or you got to pay the price. I remember going to church and you see people got their legs cut off and like, people going blind and whatnot. Like that's normal. That's not normal.
Well, we live in a society of instant gratification, so we're not thinking about that down the road. I might lose a leg.
And speaking of Cottage Grove, like one of my favorite corners of Cottage Grove is 43rd and Cottage, and like on one side of Cottage on 43rd, you got a dialysis center. Yeah. Across the street, you got a barbecue joint.
I know, right?
and I was stopped at the stop sign. I mean, the stoplight once, and I seen a brother roll in his wheelchair from the dialysis center to the bar, like across the street to the barbecue joint. And I'm just in here watching this. I'm just like, man, this makes no sense.
If we could see the forest for the trees in our neighborhood, right, we would just shake our head.
Right, and that's what I was saying. I feel like we are trusting the wrong thing. The stuff that I don't want people to trust is some of the ultra processed foods that we're eating, which again ain't even real food. And like half the ingredients, when you look at some of the stuff, like what's in a Twinkie, we don't know what's in a Twinkie.
But I think most people know that they shouldn't be eating Twinkies, especially if you're a grown ass person and you eating Twinkies. Yeah, you got cream on the side of your mouth and you fucking 34 years old. I'm gonna look at you like you ain't shit. Like, man, get your ass out of my face.
But
you doing eating a Little Debbie snack cake?
Look, it happens all the time, and that's part of the standard American diet.
You know what? This is my thing, and I try not to judge people, but I cringe when I be at the gas station in line and people down like 15 bags of them little chips and snack cakes and shit. You know what I'm saying? And I be behind them with my arms crossed, like, look at this shit. And they're like, what you say? I'm like, nothing. People do their grocery shopping at the gas station.
Well, and like that's food deserts and shit like that too. Like,
but does that make it better? Let's talk. I mean, we talking about Black health, right? We live in the inner city. Like, I mean, you lived here, so I'm right in the thick of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, Dr. McDonald, you in Bronzeville, you see it too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see
Like
it.
we see these people at the
you
gas
live-
stations.
Where you lived, it used to be one grocery store by there, that Dominic's.
Okay.
Right? On 71st.
Yeah, and they closed that
And,
down.
It's a local market now.
It's a what?
It's called local market. I live right across the street.
But
from
there was a time period when it was nothing,
It was closed for like 10 years.
and people didn't have any grocery stores.
They had Jewel on 75th. That's still there.
That's far.
No, it's not.
On
South Shore, it's right across the street
on
from
75th and Stony.
Right. So
South Shore is right next door. You can get there like 5 minutes.
I mean,
yeah, but so the reality is a lot of folks, specifically Black people, okay, and like I don't want to make this like, oh, we just talking about Black people, but the reality is in Chicago, pretty much all the food deserts are Black neighborhoods, and that's just there's not in the Latino neighborhoods, it's not up on the north sides, it's on the west side and the south side as far as the food deserts. And unfortunately, people who live in food deserts eat more ultra processed foods just because that's what's available.
Yeah.
And then for a lot of folks, you know, it's one thing to say like, okay, you know, if you live on like 67th and Crandon, you should be able to get over to, you know, Stony Island and go to Jewel. But if you are older, you know, 80-year-old woman, 70-year-old woman who lives by herself, who doesn't have access to a car, who, you know, may not necessarily be the most mobile, that is, you know, getting from 67th to 75th is a trek.
Let's not give Jewel credit. They are not the exception. Jewel ain't shit either. So yeah.
But the bottom line is it's one, food insecurity is real. So we talk about COVID. The whole COVID conversation is deeper than just whether or not we should get the vaccine. It's deeper than whether or not people are getting sick. We also have to understand how this is really affecting our society. And even when it comes to just getting access to food, COVID is increasing food insecurity. Like, I mean, I got, especially when there was a bunch of looting and whatnot and going on, I had plenty of patients who just didn't even know where to get food and didn't feel comfortable hopping on the bus to get food. So the reality is you got folks in these inner cities. We talk about the numbers of COVID, like the trek to get food in of itself could be unsafe. All right. So if you can't go to the grocery store that's right down the street, but you got to hop on the bus to get to the grocery store, but now you're exposing yourself potentially to a deadly virus just to get food. Whereas somebody who lives up in Lincoln Park, you can walk down Fullerton and like trip over 5 grocery stores.
So what's the solution? Because we know what the issue is, right? I know that in the summertime, because I used to live in Woodline, right on 62nd, I believe, 62nd in Dorchester, I believe, they used to have like a farmer's market there on Saturday mornings. Right.
And that's a dope farmer's market. And I know the lady who runs that farmer's market, and I've actually done some cooking demonstrations there. So we need more stuff like that. And what's dope about that farmer's market, even for folks, so farmer's markets can be expensive. So that's one issue. But what I like about what they did there, they have subsidies. So for people who have Link and like, you know, food stamps and whatnot, you could actually use your Link and food stamps at the farmer's market. So that's something dope that a lot of people don't know about, that more people should take advantage of.
Another thing is there used to be a community garden across from where my condo used to be on 64th and Woodline, and I thought that was pretty cool. It was actually a couple of community gardens in that neighborhood.
Yeah, I used to live 66 in Woodline.
And then
So you know about it then.
Yeah. And I remember there was nothing there, and then they opened up Robust, that coffee shop.
Yep.
And it was
okay. That was one of my jokes about that. Like, that's when you knew that white folks was coming in. Like, you would just see hella white women just planting peas in like a former like fucked up neighborhood. I'm like, oh shit, they here.
Hey, but real talk, we don't really appreciate the buying power that we have in our community. So I actually went to the owners of Robust. So I came up to them. There's 2 white guys, real nice folk.
Yep, I know.
I came up to them.
It's like 3 different Robusts. Yeah, Justin is one of their names.
Yeah. So I went up to him. I was like, yo, you got to break it down to me. Like, y'all opened up this shop in the middle of, you know, Woodline, when there's nothing around. Like, what made you decide to come from the north side, come to Woodline, and open up a coffee shop? Yeah, so they broke it down. They were like, oh, you know, we want to support the community, but it's also good business. And I'm like, do tell. And he was just like, well, you know, the 3rd highest grossing coffee shop or Starbucks in Chicago. And I was like, no, I don't know that. third highest grossing coffee shop in Chicago is the Starbucks
on Stony,
on 71st and Stony.
Yep.
I mean, that's a great location. It is a lot of traffic flow that goes through there.
So,
and it's a stoplight right there too before you get to the track. So of course, yeah, and that parking lot is like the size of my living room. So that's why it'd be so crazy too.
But what they were telling me, they were like, look, a lot of folks don't want to necessarily come down here. But like when you bring good products down to this neighborhood, there are folks who will support it and you can make money.
They starving. Like, yo, we are starving. I live in South Shore, but you're right. It is a food desert out here. And don't get hungry after 9 p.m. because the Uber Eats options is super limited. Super limited.
Yeah, that's so true.
I don't want to eat gyros and fucking meatloaf burgers. Like, no, I don't want it.
I want to keep us kind of on track of what the about the title of the show, which is about like why you feel like people of color, Black folks in particular. Because I mean, all this stuff is intertwined and interrelated. I just don't want to like go off on a tangent.
Got you.
I want you guys to kind of drop some science about one. First of all, the why people are not going in for these checkups, and two, like E-Dot said, what's the solution? How can we change this? Because this conversation can go on for hours.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of different solutions. Okay, and then there's a lot of different reasons. I mean, one, historical mistrust of a lot of institutions for obvious history of racism. Okay, and also, you know, there's still physicians who have implicit bias who, you know, you may walk in a room and you may feel judged or you may not feel comfortable. So oftentimes when people come into a doctor and, you know, if something just doesn't feel right, people can experience what's known as a confirmation bias. Okay. So if you know, have this, what you feel to be a negative experience, even maybe you just had a bad doctor, maybe it was a shitty doctor. But that one negative experience, because it's in the context of this history of racism, you'll take that one experience and that's going to be your confirmation bias that you can't trust the hospital, that all doctors are terrible, when that's not the truth. There are a lot of good doctors of all different backgrounds, and many of which were, you know, some of my mentors and some of the people who invested a lot of time and energy to help me become where I am. But you know, besides that, we also need more doctors who look like us. So that is not to say that you know, a white doctor, a Latino doctor, or Asian doctor, Indian doctor cannot provide care to Black people. That's not true at all. But for a lot of people who do have some mistrust, it would be helpful to have more doctors who look like you, that remind you of yourself. And that may be an easier way to build that trust of the healthcare system in general. Because a lot of times when people come to see me, they may also have that mistrust, but, you know, say they need to have a surgery and we don't have any Black surgeons. So I got to refer them to, you know, the surgeons that I mess with.
It's definitely refreshing to see somebody who you feel like you can talk to and can relate to you. You know?
So like when I refer somebody, I'm like, look, this surgeon that I'm sending you to, like, that's my dog. Almost got to vouch for him. Like, that's my man, 50 grand. Mm-hmm. Like, I'd send my mom in there and let him take out my mom's gallbladder. Like, real talk. And when you had that conversation, people respond. But still, we still need more Black doctors, man. Like in Chicago, there are only 2 Black male doctors at our 2 Black male primary care doctors at the academic institutions in Chicago. So I'm talking about Northwestern, Loyola, University of Chicago, UIC. If you want to have
that's you and somebody else,
and University of Chicago. Well, I'm not a primary care doctor.
Okay.
So I'm a specialist. But
get it right, Dave. Specialist.
Shut your ass up.
Okay. But peep game. For a lot of us Black men who are specialists, we sometimes take on a role of primary care doctor because people feel comfortable with asking us questions. So if I see a brother who's coming in and he just wants to talk about getting a colonoscopy, and I look over the chart, I'm like, look, man, ain't nobody checked your cholesterol. No one's checked you for diabetes. No one's checked you for, you know, your prostate and all that other stuff. Like, you got a primary care doctor? And they're like, no. Next thing you know, I start doing that stuff and I become like the primary care doctor, even though I'm a specialist. So I have a whole bunch of
what specialty
is?
We got to, somebody said it was specialty.
gastroenterology. So I'm the stomach doctor. I'm the dude who does the colonoscopies and, prevents colon cancer.
Oh, speaking of colonoscopies,
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck it up.
Yeah, I know I fucked it up. So I just turned 39 in November. When do I need to get mine?
So the age now is 45, but it depends on if you have a family history of colon cancer. So if you have a family history of colon cancer or advanced polyp, you may have to do it 10 years earlier than when that first degree relative was diagnosed with colon cancer or an advanced polyp. But
what about prostates?
Prostate cancer, I believe, is around age 40.
Age 40?
Yeah.
That's when they stick their finger up your ass, right?
So they do that in combination.
Let's keep it 100. Like, come on now.
Yes. And so they do that in combination of doing a blood test called the PSA. But with prostate cancer screening, the literature is all over the place. So like literally, if you look up the guidelines, it's just like, well, you just have a conversation with your doctor. And that's like, that's what the guidelines say.
Do you do the prostate exams? You know what? Never mind. Cause I don't want to put your finger on my ass. We just had a whole conversation. I probably feel a little uncomfortable. Like, what's up, Ed? You about to put your finger on my ass today? You know what? Just send me to send me to somebody else. I don't want you to do it. It's just gonna be a little awkward next time we had drinks and like, yo, I had my finger up your ass last week. I trust you to send me to somebody.
We go to Big Star. You know what, man?
I'm not a primary care doctor, so I don't do a whole bunch of prostate examinations. But sometimes if somebody's bleeding, you may have to do a rectal examination. But a lot of times when I'm examining an area, I'm really just doing a colonoscopy, and people like are asleep, and that's a whole different experience.
It's a whole vibe.
So I have to encourage people to get examinations that can be, in private areers. Okay. So that's.
Well, can we talk about how Black men react to stuff like that? Like, not even just Black men, just men in general. Because I don't even think it's Black men to colonoscopies and prostate exams and
it's so here's where the stories come in. Okay. when I was a med student, I was doing this project with the American Cancer Society and it's a clinic called Project Brotherhood, which is at the Woodlawn Clinic on 63rd and Woodlawn, right across from Robust. And we were trying to train barbers as self-educators to talk to cats about colon cancer. And I was one of the people who were leading some of the focus groups. Well, I had to ask brothers in the community about what their thoughts on colon cancer and colonoscopy and everything. So it was interesting. I'm asking these random cats what they think about colonoscopies. And this was maybe 15 years ago or so. So, people definitely were more homophobic than they are now. But back in those days, and homophobia is still there. It's not, gone. It's probably less, but still there. But I remember talking to people like colonoscopy, and they're like, "Yo, what's a colonoscopy?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's where you stick a camera in the bottom, in your rectum, and we look for polyps and everything." And I remember one cat was just like, "Yo, that's the gayest thing I've ever heard of," and I'm like, "Sir, that's like inappropriate." But for some folks, homophobia is one of the concerns. And
wow, that's interesting. I would have, and all jokes aside, I would have never thought that people will prevent getting that type of exam because they're homophobic. That's crazy.
Oh, homophobia is out here killing folk in multiple different ways. Okay. You literally got trans people getting messed up because of homophobia. But homophobia in general, for some people, it can be the reason why they're not getting their prostate checked, why they're not getting their colonoscopies.
Because they think that it's going to make them less of a man if they do it?
Well, I don't know what those thoughts are, but even just the idea of, case in point, I had one person, we were talking about doing a colonoscopy, and, they were like, look, nothing's supposed to go in your mouth and nothing's supposed to go in your booty. And I'm like, well, you put food in your mouth.
Do you eat bananas? Do you eat hot dogs? You ever ate a popsicle? Shut up.
Right. And this is real stuff that people are talking about. So,
you ever ate a king size burrito? Okay.
So I have to.
You gotta break it down to him like that, Doc. Like, come on, man, with the bullshit.
But I break it down in a way that's respectful, that's educational, and then also, supportive of communities. I want people to, be more open and inclusive and accepting of folk. But at the end of the day, like, we have to do what's right by people and encourage people to get their, whatever test.
You know what? I think you got some people, to your point, like that's kind of ignorant. But I think you got to meet people where they are. I'm one of them people like
That's ignorant.
Talk. No, I'm not ignorant at all. Fuck you. No, I'm one of them people like talk to me real, doc. All this shit. Like, what's up? Like, if you have like a patient, they come in there that's being, because some people are just kind of like stupid, right? Like,
Well,
look here, man. Let me take off my stethoscope real quick and just holler at you on some real shit. You know what I'm saying?
And you got to be able to read folks to know who that's going to work for and who that's not going to work for. So, I mean, and that's like the art of medicine, being able to just immediately, pick up when, like, okay, who wants me to be like, all right, what's up, bro? What's going on? And have just a regular conversation.
Last black doctor I had came into the office and he said, "Nigga, you gonna die." I had just met this dude, and
look, and
He told you that?
he said, "You finna die if you don't change your ways." I mean,
What was your ways? Tell the people, Dave.
He was looking at my blood work. Actually, no, I didn't have blood work back then. He was just looking at like my weight. My dad had just passed away. He saw my height. He saw that I was obese for what I was, and he was like, "Unless you kind of like become like a plant-based like diet, unless you adapt to that and change your eating habits," he's like, "I don't see you being much different potentially than than how your father ended up." And he wasn't even being like mean. He was just like, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I was like, can you just like, can we lie to just for a little bit? Did you
respect that? Did you respect the fact that he wasn't sugarcoating it?
Yeah, I mean, I never went back, but yeah, I did.
Well, goddamn, you sensitive as hell. He kept it 100 with you. Let me tell you something. Hey, Doc, let me tell you something why I don't trust these damn well, I go to the doctor on a regular once a year and get my check.
When the last time you went to the doctor?
Hey, wait, time out. So Eli, this brother dropped some serious knowledge. He's talking about, calcium scores.
Oh yeah, I'm serious about my health. The last time I went to the doctor in October.
Yeah.
Oh, Dr. Woznica. I go to him on a regular basis every year. Same person he can see my vitals if they change and all of that. I'm serious about my health. I bullshit a lot, but I'm not playing about my health. But I will say this. Don't give me that goddamn weak ass chart telling me I'm obese. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not in this age range. Motherfucker, I can do 16 pull-ups straight. I ain't obese. When I look at obese, they look like
you obese, nigga. You not obese, you obese.
Oh, you're right. You damn, that's dope as hell. I'm gonna get a t-shirt.
I'm not obese.
I'm not obese. I'm obese. That's dope. Yeah, so that's one thing. Don't tell me I'm obese or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Like, who is this made for? Supermodels or some shit? Because I'm not 142 pounds. I'm damn near 6 foot.
So
5'11" 3/4 to be exact. And I'm supposed to be 176. No, I am 225 pounds. You know what I'm saying? And I'm okay. Don't tell me I'm obese.
This is the type of language that actually turns people off from the doctor. And I feel like a lot of my colleagues may not necessarily know the power of their words and how it can impact people. And they may have the best intentions, but the way we communicate certain things does matter. And it can engender mistrust. And this is one of the reasons why I teach this subject to people. So physicians should not use the word obese. Okay. We should not call people obese because for a lot of people that turns people off. And then plus when it comes to African Americans, it's a little more complicated than that. So a lot of the studies show that the definition of what obesity is based upon BMI. But those studies where they actually define what obesity is didn't really include a lot of Black people. Okay, so it's basically defined by the average body type of a white person. And what they were looking for, they basically did the BMI, and they were trying to see at what BMI did people start picking up these risk factors for heart disease. And what they found was that at BMI of 30, the average white person started picking up these risk factors. But when they've done similar studies with Black people and Asian people, they found that at a BMI of, say, 33, Black people started picking up those risk factors.
Why don't they update that?
Well, I mean, because it's complicated, I guess. I don't know. And the question is, who is they? You know, it's not like
whoever is in charge of submitting that data, that public information, that should be updated though.
Yeah, well, I mean that's information that's out there. Now the flip side is what they found was for Asian people pick up some of these risk factors at a lower body mass index. So you could be, lower as an Asian person and not weigh as much, but still be at higher risk for developing diabetes and heart disease. So a body mass index is really not the best standard to define what obesity is.
I've never seen that many overweight Asian people. I don't think I have. I don't see a lot of fat Asians.
Because I mean, for a lot of Asian people, you don't have to be really big to pick up some of these, other conditions and diseases that come along with obesity, basically. So when I talk to people about weight, I don't call people obese. I don't say you're obese because that's
what do you say?
First.
You call it what, Dave?
You thick as hell.
Like first, I ask people what they want to talk about. So I let the patient kind of steer the conversation. And if they want to talk about their weight, they'll bring it up. But if they don't want to talk about their weight and it's, kind of like, something that we should probably talk about, I'll ask their permission. I'm like, yo, is it okay if we talk about your, not only just weight, I always talk about lifestyle and, the foods that you're eating and exercise and stuff like that. So a lot of times people just be like, okay, let's talk about your weight. But what I really want to talk about is the foods that you're eating and the exercise that you're engaging in.
You're so nice. You're so nice. You got to just like, look, let's talk about this. Can we talk about it? What you mean? No, you come to see me. You need to put them ho-hos and gyros down. That's what you need to do, right? You want to live? You got 4 kids, and you still eating this. What you eat before you came here? You gotta come out 100. That's me.
Yeah. But you want
that's a sketch.
You want to establish that relationship.
That's a sketch right there, bro.
That is a sketch, and like your patients will not come back to see you.
Your little thick ass.
I'm offended. No, they like the doctor was trying to hit you. Look, you try to use them little soft words and shit. Like, you know what? Am I fat, doc? No, you thick. Like, oh, the doctor was trying to hit him. He called me thick as hell. No, you fat than a motherfucker. How about that?
But time out. Like that terminology. That like it hurts people.
What's wrong with you?
And I've seen people come through with horror stories that it really makes me upset that folks in my profession are treating people this way. So they'll come through and like, yo man, I went to the doctor to get some help. I want to talk about food, my lifestyle, and they were just like, you fat, stop being fat.
Well, I mean, you gotta have a little bit of can. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gotta say it like that.
But the reality is that's how a lot of people are. That's what they're saying. And then the thing is, when you've lived your life where you've heard stories like "What up, big boy?" or "What up, fat girl?" or you got
"What up, big fella?"
Look, you see my hand up?
They used to get mad
every time a homeless man. They be like, "Excuse me, big man." I'm like, "No, you can't have shit."
Right.
You just messed up your 37-cent blessing. Fuck you.
But when you get that same experience from a physician, where you
that's worse.
With a certain degree of vulnerability, a certain degree of mistrust already, and then your doctor is just like, "What up?"
And now you insulting me, calling me big fella or a big guy.
It's like, and the thing is, I could understand that. You know what I'm saying? I can understand how someone's just like, "F that dude." Like this dude, I came for help, and you called me fat, dude. F you. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you can't call him that. I mean, look,
that's what's happening, and that's why people get mistrust.
No, take it from a regular person who coming into the doctor. If I was a doctor, like this is how I want you to talk to me. If I'm overweight and big like that, just say some stuff like, hey, based on your diet, you might need to lay off a little bit because you're a little bit on the heavy side. You know what I'm saying? So you don't whatever. Like I'm like, okay, you're right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like size jeans because the person your age and height should be in a size 30 whatever, right?
Yeah.
But if you like, hey, according to this chart, you are obese, and I'm like, I'm not fucking obese.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The motherfuckers on 600-pound life. Talk to them. That's not me. I don't need a crane to go to the bathroom, okay? I don't need a forklift to go to the kitchen, bitch. You know what? I'm out of here. Do you got a Yelp review? Because I'm giving you a bad Yelp review. Fuck you, doctor.
Yeah, but you just proved my point, and you also just proved why
that obese is a trigger word in the Black community.
It's a trigger word. It is, and it's not only a trigger word in the Black community. It's a trigger word in general.
Oh man, you don't call me no obese.
Right? And we shouldn't use it. And they say we should use like patient-centered language, okay? And that's where you don't, describe somebody by like a condition, okay? So, saying telling someone is just like you are obese, we would never say you are diabetes. You know what I mean? Like
how
we
would
never
you say
be
it?
like
how
you are high blood pressure. And you can, but with obesity, like we call people obese. You know what I mean?
Blood smell like Kool-Aid.
Okay, Doc. Okay, Doc. I'm gonna put you on the spot real quick.
Yeah.
I come up here and I'm like, let's say you saw the chart from the person who took my weight and all of that stuff, and you about to tell me that I'm fat, whatever. How would you tell me that? And I'm like, hey man, I really enjoy I enjoy going to eating gyros on Saturday night, and I love a good Harold's 1/4 meal, right? You know what I'm saying?
You know how they be lying to you,
and that's just the only thing I can afford to pay my children, and so So what how would you talk to me?
Look, man. So it's called motivational interviewing. Okay, so that's the term for it, and I mean, there's a whole technique and strategy behind it. Mm-hmm. And what I do is I ask a lot of questions and almost lead people to their own answers, and and then really let them tell me what their concerns are. So I would look over, say,
okay, so we actually you on the spot right now. Yeah. Boom, let's go. And
so look. Typically I'll have the chart. So I know what your weight is. I know what your blood pressure is. I know what your heart rate is. And I would be like, okay, what do you want to focus on today? Like, like what brings you in? So normally that question right there allows me to know what they really want to focus on. And that's where I need to spend my time.
And I live on the second floor and I feel like I'm out of breath every time I get to my front door.
Right. So then we'll have a conversation about, okay, how long has this been going on?
12 years.
And we'll have a conversation. So when people have issues like that, I'm concerned of, is this a heart issue? Is this a lung issue? Or is this just, deconditioning where you just need to exercise more and build up your exercise capacity? I would ask questions like, yo, are you smoking cigarettes? I want to get at like, okay, is this COPD? Is this asthma? Is this a lung problem that's been going on? With heart issues, I'm like, okay, do you get short of breath when you lie down? Do you have swelling in your legs? What's your past medical history? So if anything, it's me, before I even start giving advice and telling people, what they need to do, I really need to know like who this person is. And that's where that establishing rapport and gaining trust comes, because I need to know what's going on. And unfortunately, you have a lot of doctors who don't spend that time with that patient. And you have somebody who already is at risk for not trusting you, who, they'll just come in the room like, all right, you're going to die. And then they walk out the room.
I sweat when I take naps.
That's really
is that a fat problem, Doc? Just keep it real with me. Don't waste my time. You know what I'm saying? Don't waste my time, doctor. I sweat when I take naps. What's up? What's wrong with me?
You're trying to be funny right now. That's a real problem. Don't make fun of that. I do wake up.
Okay. So, we have talked about Dave is triggered.
Look, a lot of people sweat when they take naps. It's like my dad used to sweat when he
I got that wax.
It's one of the reasons why, like,
when they sleep.
Like a lot of people that's a very common thing.
Oh,
and nor does it have any, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's something wrong. But like the bottom line is, if I see someone's overweight and I'll look at their numbers, I'm like, okay, so your blood pressure is XYZ. This is your weight. Do you have any concerns about your weight or your health, or is it okay if we talk about your weight and your health and your diet and all that stuff? And if someone's like, no, I don't really want to talk about that stuff, I'm done. You know what I mean? And that's like that comes from being in Chicago, where you ain't trying to push people's buttons. Okay, like if I'm on the streets and some brothers is like, yo, I don't want to talk about that. It's just like, yo, we ain't got to talk about it. You know what I mean? Because if I keep forcing the issue, like I know I could be potentially setting myself up for an altercation or interaction. So like I respect people's boundaries. And I think when you respect boundaries as a doctor, that's also how you can build rapport. But eventually, as I build that trust, those boundaries will start to break down and we can have a real conversation about what's going on. And for me, like I plan on seeing folks in follow up. So like we don't have to address everything all at once. We need to focus on what they want to focus on. And if I know there's some other stuff, like I'll say, you know what? Let's talk about the back pain that you've been having, even though that back pain may be because you have some extra weight on board, but we'll talk about it. We'll give you some medications, make you feel comfortable. But I'm like, you know what? Let's have you come back in like a couple of months. And in that next visit, we'll really start to get into some of the details because I established that trust. But if I don't have that trust with you, like why should you talk to me about your weight? Because if you don't know me and you don't like me and I'm talking about this personal sensitive stuff, and I'm just gonna come off like a judging asshole, and I don't want to do that. But there's a lot of folks who come off as judging, and maybe if you have someone who's experienced racism, you can interpret that in as they're racist.
Well, it
So
sounds
whether or
like
not they really are or not, but that is like how people can view things.
it
So
sounds like we need more doctors who just look like me and you.
I
Like
mean, we need
For trust factors, absolutely.
we definitely need a diverse. I mean, I don't know. When I started medical school, I started med school in 2003. 2003 was the lowest number of black men in medical school since 1975. Um, and for me, I didn't have any black male lecturers during medical school at Northwestern. And it's one of the reasons why I got hooked up with Project Brotherhood, because I remember being a first year medical student when there wasn't really a whole lot of other black male medical students. I didn't have any, much black male faculty. I had to go down to the South Side to find black doctors that looked like me.
so, what was Project Brotherhood?
So Project Brotherhood was a clinic on the South Side for black men in the Woodlawn area, and all the doctors were black male. And what I loved about that clinic,
That's dope.
yeah, it was dope. They had barbers and cutting hair in the waiting area. So they literally, who started it was um, one of my mentors, and he basically asked and the people who live in the community, like, what do y'all want this clinic to look like? And brothers was like, yo, we want barbers coming through. We want to have classes on like fatherhood, relationships, and like other stuff. So the clinic was dope, and then we were like, we want black male doctors, and we don't want people wearing white coats. We want folks just dressed like us. So you walk in the clinic and you see a cat with like a hoodie on, some Timberland boots, um, checking somebody's blood pressure. It was amazing. And then you see
I
like
think we
barbers.
need that. I think we need that for like every discipline. You know what I'm saying? Like
Oh,
finance,
we
nutrition,
do,
like
because
comedy, writing, all of that.
we do. It got to the point where I would just go there even as a medical student volunteer. I wasn't going there just as a volunteer. I was going there because I like kicking it. And
Having
matter of fact,
conversations.
yeah, like a bunch of those docs and like the social workers from the clinic, like it was black male social workers at the clinic. Um, they all ended up coming to my wedding and everything. Like we got real tight, and I still keep in contact with all of
That's
them.
dope, bro.
Yeah, so
So let's do this. So let's take some of these questions from earlier while we got this your knowledge on the line with us.
James, you want to do it either, or you want James to read the questions?
James, you go ahead and read them.
I only found one like really long. I mean, I only saw one. If you have more that I missed, feel free to read them
I
yourself.
saw Jackie had a question.
Yeah, that's the one I saw. So when you're asymptomatic, this is for COVID. When you're asymptomatic, does that classification ever change? Meaning, can you show symptoms and get sick at a future time of repeated exposure?
So when you're asymptomatic and you kind of your body gets rid of the virus, and at that point you should develop antibodies that should decrease your risk for getting the virus again. However, we don't know how long those antibodies last. So there are reports of people getting reinfected, but you're not going to get reinfected immediately. So it'll probably be, some months or so before you can actually get the virus again. And that's one of the reasons why it's the same concept behind vaccines. Okay, so your body gets exposed to the virus, you make your own antibodies, and if you get exposed again, your body will be able to recognize it and fight it off. Or you may not even get sick again because you already have the antibodies that can kill the virus before the virus is actually can build up enough virus in your system to cause some issues. So, for most people, you probably won't get the virus anytime soon, but this is still new. So we don't even know how long those antibodies last.
That was actually, I was going to follow up with that. Like, is there, I've heard stories of like people getting it 3 months after they've gotten it before, but like, if there's no like consensus, then.
Yeah. So I don't think that's clearly established right now.
Okay.
I got a question.
Oh, go ahead.
I remember that there was a big deal about wiping stuff down and hand sanitizers and all Lysol. But then I saw an article online that was like, none of that stuff really matters. This virus is mostly airborne, and so
it still matters, but that's not the main way the virus is transmitted. Okay, so I mean, washing your hands is important. I don't, think we need to Lysol all your groceries and stuff like that. I personally don't Lysol all my groceries and my packages. But I wash my hands. I mean, I've always washed my hands, consistently just by being a doctor and also, working in restaurants and stuff like that. Hand washing is, should be pretty standard. But hands down, the virus is spread by droplets in the air, and it may even be aerosolized. And in the winter months, at least in areas where it's cold, the virus those droplets can last longer in the air and spread a little bit further.
So I have a question.
Okay. Was he done answering my question, E-Dot?
Yeah. So I mean, to answer your question, I don't think you need to wipe down everything, but wash your hands and don't touch your face a whole lot, because if you do pick up the virus and like touch your eyes, like the virus still can get in your body through your eyes, or if you touch your mouth, it can, get in your body through your mouth. If you touch your nose and stuff like that, you can breathe it in. But wiping stuff down is probably not the biggest thing. And then most times the virus, it'll die on different surfaces within hours or so. So it's not going to last a whole lot.
So if you're not asymptomatic and you have not caught coronavirus, and you've been around people with COVID, what does that say about you?
Well, I don't know what it says, because you should probably get tested if you've been around people with COVID, because you can be asymptomatic, it still spread it to other folks.
What if you're not asymptomatic? You just keep coming back negative.
So if you keep coming back negative, then you're negative. But I wouldn't roll the dice and think you have superpowers and your body is just naturally immune. I would be grateful that you have remained negative despite being potentially exposed to the virus. But I would really focus on how to limit your exposure, as opposed to, continually being exposed to a whole bunch of people with COVID.
So let me ask this question. That wasn't even the biggest question that I wanted.
Gotcha.
Answered.
Yeah.
If two people with COVID have sex, is it going to make it worse?
Fucking God.
So viral load.
Because if that's not swapping germs, I don't know what is.
So viral load and the amount of you've been exposed does matter. Okay. So if you get exposed to just a little bit of COVID, you may not necessarily do all that bad, especially if you're a younger person and you have, a relatively strong immune system. But if you get exposed to an overwhelming amount of COVID, where there's a whole bunch of virus coming in your body all at once, that's going to be harder to fight off than just like a little tiny bit.
And, what you mean? Oh, you can get an overload of COVID, not just a little bit?
Yeah, not all exposures are the same. Okay, so if you're intimate with somebody who does have the virus, and y'all you putting in work.
What if y'all keep y'all mask on during the interaction? Like cut a little hole in the mask, like. Oh my God. I mean, people gotta get it in, baby. you know what I'm saying? That 14-day quarantine.
And Dave, you wanted me to put this on Facebook so my mama could come through here.
Oh my God, bro.
Inquiring minds want to know. We just asking the questions that
Inquiring minds do want to know. Like,
I have a real question from Brandy Denise. I have a real question. She asked, should people be getting the flu vaccine and the COVID vaccine, and if so, how far apart should they be getting those vaccines?
Yes, ideally people should get both vaccines because you're still, even though there's a COVID going on, the flu is still out there, and the flu, still kills people. The flu is still a serious issue. You should probably not get them at the same time. You should probably not get them back to back. So I don't think anybody knows because one, the vaccine is brand new. So I mean, it is literally literally brand new. So there's no established guidelines, but I would imagine I would recommend probably waiting, some months, maybe a month or at least maybe a month after you've been exposed to that second dose of COVID before you get another flu vaccine. But again, this is stuff that's just me, using kind of common sense, but there's no studies to back up even what I'm saying. But you definitely wouldn't want to get, I would imagine you wouldn't want to get exposed to both just because one, they both can be associated with some side effects and adverse reactions. So you wouldn't want to make, one reaction worse by having two things in your system. If that makes any sense.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, and I get my flu vaccine. My kids get their vaccines. With the COVID,
not me.
The COVID
vaccine. Y'all keep that shit.
Oh my God.
Not fucking with it.
But because what's the concern? So I mean, I know you said.
First of all, I'm not in school anymore, and I done made it this far without any of them vaccines.
We older now, though. Well, I mean, actually, I'm gonna let Ed handle this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
can you still catch polio at this age in 2020? Is people still catching polio?
Not in the United States because of vaccines, but in foreign countries, people are catching vaccines and catching polio. And it's a lot of the people who refuse to get vaccinated who are getting polio. And I was actually reading one study. So in Pakistan, there's still the same mistrust that we have here when it comes to vaccines. And that's why, I think we do a disservice when we present this whole vaccine hesitation to get vaccine as like a Black person issue. It's not a Black person issue. This is like a worldwide issue. And a lot of it is, again, it's not just, Black mistrust. It is kind of mistrust of, some of these
the people.
Yeah.
I read the Facebook comments. It'd be some white people in there who said I ain't fucking with it either.
Right. It's a lot of people.
Very political.
It is very political, but this is one of the reasons why we really have to have more access to information and really do our research. And the scary thing is, right now we live in a world of misinformation. Okay, so misinformation is dangerous. I mean, I know everybody's on Facebook and social media and whatnot, but in the wrong hands, these could be like weapons of mass destruction to some degree. And this is how you end up with people like Donald Trump as being president. Because
what about these YouTube videos that come out with these doctors and nurses who are like whistleblowing and talking about, the Moderna and Luciferase, which is when you listen to it, sounds like Lucifer, what about those?
So
I'll be convinced at that shit. I'm like, I fucking told you.
Look, all tools of misinformation. And at the end of the day, like when I think about this from a common sense perspective, Moderna, Pfizer, all these companies want to make money.
But did you watch Sicko, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so when Sicko came out, that exposed a lot of people, and that stuff does happen, man. This is what I say.
You talking about the Sicko Michael Moore movie?
Yeah, this is what I say.
Yeah, but he say that against healthcare, he was advocating that more people need to get access. And
but he was also talking about it like. He was also, you're right. He did say that, but he was also basically exposing a lot of the greed. See, some countries are based on, I'm not going to say an entire country is based on morale, but we do know for a fact by us being American citizens that this country is simply based on greed. You know what I'm saying? So if I know, if I'm a lobbyist and I got a big, company, especially the pharmaceutical industry, right? And I want to get this passed, but it's got these USDA regulations and all of this FDA regulations and whatnot. I'm gonna send a lobbyist. I'm like, yo, look, Congress, before you pass this, if we throw you $8 million to say that to change this one little word in there, could y'all let that slide? And I think that, it's not that I think that's exactly what he was saying in that documentary, that was happening a lot. You know what I'm saying? Especially in like the food industry. So I don't think it will be no difference when it comes to drugs, because pharma is like at the helm of that type of that going on. Am I right?
So, I mean, big pharma, big agriculture, big anything. I do feel like there sometimes we allow corporate interests to overtake the public interests. And this is where our government really needs to have a responsibility to balance those interests, where the corporate interests are not putting people at risk. And I mean, that applies to the environment, that applies to our own bodies, that applies to a lot of different stuff. So to your point, yes, sometimes we have allowed people to do whatever they want for the sake of making money, because people with money have power and influence. um so that, I mean, that's a reality of it. And unfortunately, when it comes to big pharma, I think one of the biggest issues is why these medications are so expensive. Okay. And that's a problem, and they've jacked up the price. Matter of fact, they jacked the price on insulin. Like, insulin used to be like nothing, and then you got a lot of people who have type 1 diabetics. They got to decide between, literally paying their rent and dying, because if you're type 1 diabetic and you don't get insulin, you will die. Like, it's not like you might die, you will die. And that is a shame, and the government needs to stop and jump in and fix that. And with this whole vaccine situation, my take on it, if the vaccine, to use your words, was turning people into Walking Dead, like, Pfizer's gonna lose billions of dollars.
Well, I was
Like,
just joking, obviously, but
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I know you were just joking, but I
No,
know
you
a lot of folks got concerns that, like, this is gonna mess people up. You know what I mean? And I feel like these companies, and I say this because you talk about people who are being greedy and people looking at their best interests. This is a situation where it's in their best interest for people to not get sick from
But
this
it's
vaccine.
not, you know what? I mean, let's talk about what we haven't even said though, because some of these people are not trusting the vaccines for spiritual reasons. And, with a lot of people going like, oh, whatever, that's ridiculous. But a lot of people are looking at like, yo, they're going to put a microchip in me. Is this like a form of the mark of the beast?
Right. But, well, I mean, we gotta.
I mean, let's not like disregard that. Like, that's not absolutely
No.
cannot happen.
Right. And one, it is very complicated, and I do feel like the world is changing a whole lot, and it's changing rapidly in terms of technology, in terms of, folks are talking about artificial intelligence, and I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. So I could definitely understand how there's mistrust with change, and how there's mistrust with new technology and new information. Like, I get it. And in terms of spirituality, that is a complicated conversation.
Very complicated, man, but
And,
it's very real though too.
but it
And
is.
if I'm being honest, that's one of the main reasons, I want to say 95%, why I'm not fucking with that vaccine.
So, for me as a physician, like, my goal, and I take my role as a doctor based upon what it means to be a doctor. And if you go back to the Latin word for what a doctor is, it's a docere, and that's the Latin for teach, to teach. So my role is not to convince people of anything. Okay. So this is one of the ways I build trust with patients, because I tell people, I'm like, yo, you want to take the vaccine, you don't want to take the vaccine, that is your decision. But my goal is to give you the information in a way that you can understand, to make an informed decision. And whatever decision you make, because you're my patient and I'm your doctor, I'm still gonna rock with you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's not gonna be like, oh, I'm judging this cat because he didn't do the vaccine. It's just like, yo, I broke down the information to the best I could, and we were on the same page. And he's a grown ass man, so he made his own decision. But let's talk about this diabetes. You know what I mean? Um, so with religion, I mean, look, I've taken care of plenty of Jehovah's Witness who, refuse to have blood, to the point where, people pretty much almost died because they refuse to get a blood transfusion. And there's a certain amount that I actually respect, you know what I mean? I may not necessarily agree with it, but for someone to come in with their religious convictions, like, yo, I'd rather die than
That's
do
a
this.
very delicate. That is a very delicate like situation when you're dealing with that.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
especially with religion, because it's like you can't, you know, because Scientology and religion is such a fine line. You
yeah.
know, and I'm sure, I don't know if you're faced with that a lot in your practice or whatnot, but
Oh
you
man,
know,
you know, it's like I'm a man of science. I'm also a man of faith, and you know, historically, a lot of our scientists were also, you know, within faith. So if you think about during the Dark Ages, I mean, it was a lot of the faith leaders in the monasteries and whatnot that actually kept science alive. That was a repository for science. So I do feel like science can coexist with faith, and oftentimes faith is what's directing science. And the way I look at it, especially when I was doing more research, the more and more I learned about the human body and how this stuff worked, it was almost like, you know, studying God's creation to some degree. So the more I understood the mechanics of how this stuff works, it's just like, man, this stuff is really amazing. And the more I learned, the more I recognize that there's stuff that we don't know, and it's stuff that is so amazing. It actually strengthened my faith to some degree. So when it comes to like spirituality, it's something that I respect as a physician, and I've seen stuff that even as a physician I can't explain. You know what I mean? Like I don't have any words for it. Like I've seen folks that should have died that didn't, and seen people that were in comas and we pulled the plug, and they jumped up like, "Yo, like what y'all looking at?" Like I've seen it. Haven't seen it a whole lot, but I've seen it. I've seen it.
I mean
But in
that's
terms of the
very real.
vaccine, in terms of the vaccine and spirituality, um, even with religion, I need more education on how the vaccine goes against religion and spirituality. You know, one, you know, if you look at biblical times, we didn't have vaccines at that time. We didn't have it, and but I do recognize that, especially in the Bible, you know, folks are walking around trying to heal folk. You know what I mean? And they may have had their own separate spiritual ways to go about healing people, but in my mind, I feel like the vaccine is still falls in line with trying to be a healer. I feel like providing that vaccine, providing a situation where folks don't have to get sick, don't have to die from something. That is in line with my spirituality, and is also in line with my view as a Christian. Like I don't want to see folks die from something that they shouldn't, you know, shouldn't have to die from. Like I want to see people live. You know what I'm saying?
See the thing, just listening to you, like I've never, you know, Dave knows you personally,
Yeah,
and I'm sure he knows you professionally. But I think right now, just our listeners has gotten an opportunity this evening to understand you more professionally, and you come across as very genuine and authentic. And the whole purpose of this tonight's episode, take your ass to the doctor, right? And I think the foundation is based in trust. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? Based in trust. I think a lot of times, it's just how you breaking this down. I mean, you're very honest. This is such a very delicate and new situation with the vaccine and whatnot, but it's all rooted in trust. You
yeah,
know, I've been to the doctor with doctors I went to for the first time, and I felt like they just kind of was rushing me. You
yeah.
know, I had more questions, but they on the clock,
Oh,
right? You
and
know,
you
we're
know
talking
what?
about my fucking health. Don't rush me. Like, no,
Yeah,
I have more questions. I need
yeah,
more understanding. I don't understand this. What's going on with me? Can you take some more time? And I really think that if we talking about Black people,
yeah,
you know, a lot of us feel like rushed. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like dismissed. You're not that important. So when we go to the doctor, something about our health, and
yeah,
that's happened over time, you
yeah,
know, of course, yeah, we still gonna feel like, man, all right, man, I'm going because I know I need something. I'm not really gonna listen to it, you know, but I know I need to do it, yada yada yada. But you know, somebody, if you come and sit at the table and take the time and really talk to somebody, get to know them,
yeah.
I think that's where, and I could be wrong, but from what I gather tonight is that you seem like the doctor who does that. who
Oh,
will actually talk to and get to know your patients.
Yeah, I do that. That's why my clinic runs late as hell.
I'm sure a lot of people got questions, man. We don't
And
understand that.
so
This is serious.
the model in my clinic, I'm like, look, we're gonna get to you. We may not be on time, but when we do, you're gonna get your time. Okay.
So if my appointment is scheduled for 10:30, I'm coming at 11:17.
So but the problem is to do everybody justice and spend the right amount of time for every patient and really give people room to speak and not rush people. It is hard to fit people into these 20-minute appointment slots. And that's just the reality of healthcare. I wish we can come up with a better solution where like I could spend an hour with everybody and not have the hospital curse me out. Um, but like I don't control the hospital. I don't control the insurance companies. I don't control how they reimburse. I don't control any of that. So the problem with our healthcare system, we have set up almost two competing goals. Okay. So on the one hand, one goal is to see as many patients as possible to keep the lights on, to pay the bills, etc. On the other hand, and in one, I mean, the hospital, like they're literally coming at you like, yo, your RVUs are down. You're not seeing as much patients. Like, what are you really doing? Like, what's going on? So you got Big Brother, watching you and kind of, looking over your shoulder. But then on the other hand, like a lot of people just want to be good doctors and you just want to like take care of your patients and whatnot. Yeah. So how do you balance like, and then you also want to stay on time because you also got some patients like, oh man, I showed up and this dude was like an hour late, blah, blah, blah. And, people get upset about that. So how do you balance all these competing tasks where you're trying to, take care of people, but, give them their time so they can trust you? And the question is, it's tough. It's not perfect. It's messy. It's super messy. And you do the best you can. And for a lot of physicians, people struggle with that. And it's one of the reasons why physicians have the highest rate of suicide of any other profession.
What? I didn't know that shit. Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, man. Like by far. And we talk about things.
I mean, it's a lot of pressure. You're responsible for people's lives.
But that's not what's causing physician burnout. Being responsible for lives and like doing the medicine part, that's actually the easy part to some degree. So for most people who are well trained, who actually put in the work and study this stuff, and a lot of physicians, these are smart folks who did good in school and all this other stuff. So like doing the medicine and knowing the next steps and what to do, that's not the hard part. It is trying to balance all the demands that you're trying to juggle. So like in any given moment, so even right now, like I may get like 50, 60, patient messages a day in the computer system that I'm responsible for. And on top of that, it's just like you get email. On top of that, you have to be in clinic. On top of that, you're doing procedures, or you may have people who are hospitalized that want to see you. And then you have to balance that with your family and everything. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. But like, me deciding how to do a colonoscopy, like that's the easy part. Like that's the easy part. Or even in situations where, I remember when I was a resident, we had to run cardiac arrest, like you see on TV, like somebody's heart stop and like those are stressful situations. But like once you've been in that situation and you have experience with it, it's just like, all right, look, this is what's going on. This is what we have to do. Let's get it done and let's try to resuscitate this person. And it's when you have experience, it's easy to focus on thinking clearly. But and that's what you're prepared for. Okay, that's what medical school and residency teaches you. But what it does not teach you, it doesn't teach you, how to get your patients to trust you. Like that is what life teaches you. It also doesn't teach you, how do you make money and do research and still be respected amongst your patients. How do you balance all that? Like that is some stuff you got to figure out on your own. And for people who have issues trying to figure it out, that's where the stress comes from. And I think that's what is, potentially causing physician burnout. And then as far as the vaccine, my take on the vaccine, I, originally when they were talking about how quickly the vaccine was being made, like I had some of the same, not only me, but other physicians. I mean, this is stuff we talk about. We were like, I don't know. let's wait and see what the data shows. Okay. And a lot of people, even physicians, approach it with the same skepticism that, you're approaching it with folks in the everyday public. Because at the end of the day, no one wants to do something that's going to make them sick. You know what I mean? Like the way I look at it, if like if I'm just walking down the street and like I'm randomly get shot, you're like, okay, that's terrible. You know what I mean? Stuff happens. But I would be more upset if I had a gun and I'm just messing around with my own gun and I shoot myself. Like, that's my fault. You know what I mean? Like, I did that to me. So with the whole vaccine situation, I can see how like someone's like, look, I don't want to do something to me that I could have avoided. But looking at the data looks good. The data that we have so far, and the studies, it looks safe enough. I looked over it myself. Like, I'm going to take the vaccine. I'm going to do it next week. And I think the benefit that everybody else has who's not in healthcare, like, you guys don't have to be in the front lines. Like, you don't have to, be at the front of the line to get this vaccine. So now you get to hear about my experience, and not only my experience, but like, 6 million other healthcare providers. So I just have this one study that has 45,000 people or so. Like, you guys are going to have, 6 million other people ahead of you getting the vaccine to decide for yourself.
Which is a blessing.
Which is a blessing. And one, it's a responsibility, I think, for me as a Black doctor. I'm gonna take the vaccine so other Black people can feel more comfortable to take the vaccine, and not only other Black people, but people in general.
You're gonna walk so we can run, so we can fly.
Boy, what is you, some Maya Angelos? Boy,
and if some messed up stuff happens, like, it's gonna be all over the news, like, y'all gonna hear about it.
It is the wind beneath my wings. Okay, like he's out here. Okay.
Oh, okay. Hey man, I have an insurmountable respect for you, brother. Just listening to you, your knowledge, just the ingenuity, man, everything. I probably said that wrong, but
I appreciate that.
But
good people, man. Right here, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. I really respect. I'm still not fucking with that vaccine, but I do respect what you say.
Right, but that's fair. Like, we ain't with everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I will be watching you, and I will be hitting you up like around June. Like, what's up, man? Are you Cyclops now or Nightcrawler or whatever? What's going on, man?
And I promise you, like, I'll keep it real and tell you what I know. You know what I mean? And like, again, my role is just to be a teacher.
We'll just have to meet like in person, because if you telling me what's up with the vaccine, I don't want you to be.
I promise you,
I ain't looking at you. Just let's meet in the alley and tell me what's really going on.
When the world tell you that you can't go back to living your life until you get vaccinated, and you're gonna be like, you got any more than vaccine?
No, but that's what I know. No, that's when I know what's really on some bullshit then.
But what I will say, for all the entertainers and performers out there, the only way y'all gonna get back to normal and doing these shows and being out there is if a whole bunch of people get vaccinated.
Well, I'll be the only motherfucker on Zoom. Hey.
But I mean, it is what it is. Like, I want my kids to go back to school. Like, I want to be able to go to the movies. You know what I mean? I want to be able to have barbecues. Like, all the basic stuff that we used to do, like, I took for granted. I mean, like, going to the movies, something as simple as just going to get some popcorn and watching, the newest Marvel movie. Like, that stuff was important. Or even going to your comedy shows. I seen both of y'all perform. Like, I enjoyed doing that. I enjoyed, after Dave's show, let's go to Big Star and get some tacos. You know what I mean?
Just being able to talk to somebody like this
days too, man,
and be like, "Hey, what up, man?" And now, like, get the fuck away from me, right?
I had this white lady push me off the elevator because my mask was sagging, and she's like, "Get out of here!" And I'm like, "You know what? I let it slide because you got a good point. But any other time, don't you fucking touch me, goddammit."
All right. Ed, we thank you, brother, for joining the podcast, Jason Graves. a very dope episode. Is there anything that you want to plug before you get out of here?
Yeah, and Jackie asked like where you located. He's at the University of Chicago, but let people know how they can.
And he went to Marian Catholic, just like Jackie.
Right.
So I know you from there too.
What do I want to plug? I got my kids' book out. So my kids' book, Do You Know Where Your Food Goes? It's on Amazon. It's Christmas time. So if you want to see a book with little, with black characters talking about.
Is it about poop?
It's about digestion. It's about, it's a little kid. Matter of fact, man, the dad, I had the artist it was inspired by the image of Jay Dilla, the producer.
Yeah.
I wanted the dad to look like Jay Dilla. So that's who the dad in the book looks like. And it's basically a Jay Dilla lookalike explaining digestion to his kid. And I don't know, it's Christmas time. So if you want to have a little woke kid who knows what happens, when he eats food or she eats food, I'm woke too. So, little girls are reading books or they, you got non-binary folk out there.
What's it called again?
Do you know where your food goes?
Do you know where your food goes?
I just popped the link in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, so that's on Amazon. Check that out. And then I write about food and nutrition. You can check out www.thedocskitchen.com.
I would definitely be hitting you up because I am looking for a nutritionist and a meal prep service that can make my meals and just deliver it to me because I don't have time to cook.
Okay.
So I will be hitting you up around that.
Okay, cool. There's a lot of stuff out there, and I work with a bunch of dietitians, man. We got you.
Yeah.
Hey, so follow the page, man. This is our 5th episode. You can find the podcast on iTunes. I think coming out very soon. So please subscribe to the page, Jays and Grays. Follow us on Instagram at Jays and Grays. We will, I guess, next week is Christmas Eve. So I don't know if we'll be having a show next week. But
and Doc, where can they follow you at?
You can follow me at the Doc's Kitchen 4 on Instagram. I'm Ed McDonald on Facebook, and I also got the Facebook page, the Doc's Kitchen. I'm probably more active on Instagram than anything. But yeah, follow me, check out the website, check out the book. And if you
hey James, can we put that in the chat so people can see that?
Yep, I did.
If you see me in the streets of Chicago, don't be afraid to say what up.
Oh, this is probably our final show of 2020, to be honest with you.
Oh, that's dope.
Is it?
Next week is Christmas Eve, and then the next week after that is New Year's Eve. So please let this.
We ain't gonna have no episode for 2 weeks.
I mean, ain't nobody tuning in on New Year's Eve.
Does Christmas fall on a Thursday and does New Year's fall on Thursday?
Hey, look, man, they may turn in because this is the COVID New Year's Eve.
Right, yeah, like people have to be out there doing a countdown or some shit. They ain't gonna be able to get the crib depressed. Want to listen to us? We gonna talk about it.
Yeah, we gonna talk about it. Yeah. You might be here, but I won't.
He ain't doing nothing. Don't worry, I'll hold it down. I got y'all. Me and James, right, James?
Nope, I'll be at Zany's.
Oh, shit, catching COVID.
Yo, Dave's asleep again. Look at this. It's just like old times. Dave's asleep at the show.
Oh Lord, Dave, what the hell?
That's funny. All right, well, I'm gonna head out, brothers.
Thanks again, Dr. McDonald, man. We appreciate you coming on and a lot of shared knowledge, man. So we'll definitely be in touch. Appreciate everybody tuning in this evening. Dave's shit froze at the last minute, but at least it didn't happen in the middle of the conversation. So
there you go. All right, take care.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Have a good night, James.